If you ever want to feel pride for our nation, take a trip to Normandy, France. On a bluff overlooking the Atlantic, and more specifically Omaha and Utah beaches, sits a cemetery maintained to perfection with the headstones of young American men who gave their lives on D-Day in a battle that not only was a turning point in World War II, but the greatest modern-day defense of democracy in the face of oppression. Now, I worked on a TV special celebrating not only the greatest generation's heroism, but how our nation traversed an ocean to stop tyranny and cement why America was the ideal a world will not only be grateful for, but aspire to. Think about how we chose to leave Europe after Germany's surrender. America didn't claim territories, but instead, we authored the Marshall Plan, where we helped rebuild a war-torn continent. In the aftermath, we became the unquestioned global superpower, not just in might, but in science, in medicine, in manufacturing, and the world was thankful because, unlike previous empires, we were benevolent, and our allies embraced the globalism we preached, and the peace and prosperity America enjoyed was a direct byproduct. Now, beyond the sustained economic boom, the democracy we advocated was adopted in nation after nation. Tolerance of religious freedom, free elections, reproductive rights, civil liberties, they became realities in countries that chose to follow America's lead. I'm 56. Throughout my lifetime, I've only known a United States that has led the world from the front. We have certainly been imperfect, I know that, but I always have felt my nation has taken its role and responsibility of global leadership with the utmost of seriousness. That is, until now. Since the November elections, I have watched the president and his followers talk of dictatorships with admiration. I've witnessed an abandonment of allies and alliances, a retreat from our role as a superpower, and an embrace of isolationism. A Marshall Plan, it's been replaced with extortion of our allies, and enemies have been inspired that whatever abuses they committed were suddenly no concern of ours. Global bad actors have taken note that traitors who had attempted to overthrow a free and fair election on American soil were rewarded with blanket pardons by our new president after brutally attacking law enforcement. When poor nations were devastated after natural disasters, America always led relief efforts. When atrocities and genocide took place, the United States was always the first, not the last resort of hope. Think about the America until this year that we all took for granted. Now take the politics out of it completely. Forget Democrats, Republicans. Remember what the likes of Reagan and the Bushes did when it came to this. Can you imagine any leader, other than one named Trump, regardless of party affiliation, cozying up to the likes of Putin, Orban, or the North Korean premier? Can you imagine them shaking down Ukraine or threatening to bail on NATO? Can you imagine any predecessor pulling out of the World Health Organization, UNESCO, and shuttering U.S. aid? I saw a number that shocked me. It's projected by 2030, again, not that long from now, that 14 million men, women, and children will be dead in developing nations because of a lack of access to healthcare, food, and basic services that until now U.S. aid provided. We are already seeing malnutrition and starvation as a consequence, and preventable diseases like malaria and tuberculosis, they have returned with a vengeance. This program cost a fraction of a percentage point. But our national budget, to the president, this was a difference that he thought was a better savings instead of, I don't know, life or death. Now, this wasn't just indifference to the plight of others. Our government embodied malice as it incinerated 500 tons of desperately needed food that was already packaged for delivery. $10 million in contraceptives, they'll also be destroyed, by the way, at taxpayer expense out of a political agenda, even though they would save lives in AIDS-ravaged Africa. On the climate front, the extreme weather confirms what every climatologist has been screaming from the rooftops. Man-made actions are making our planet uninhabitable, and desperate action is unavoidable if we care about our children's future. We're not still debating this, are we? Apparently we are. Tuesday, the Trump administration made climate denialism the official policy of the United States. His EPA just effectively eliminated any greenhouse gas standards for motor vehicles, power plants, oil and gas operations. The consequence is that our government has said in no uncertain terms to industries, pollute to your heart's content. Now, if you're a victim of climate change, well, you're on your own, no matter what disaster comes to your neighborhood. To the world, this is a punctuation on our abandonment of the Paris Climate Accords. Not only have we forfeited our leadership role, we're telling other nations they are chumps to care about this. On the health front, America has led the world in medical advancements and our commitment to a healthy population. Now, the message Trump and his acolytes have sent is that medicine and science are not to be trusted. The crown jewels of our system built over generations, things like the Center for Disease Control, the National Institute for Health, the Federal Drug Administration, they have been gutted for reasons that only a conspiracist can rationalize. To the world, the message, well, up is down and down is up. I can go on, but I think you see where I'm coming from. America has always stood for something more than just our military might. But in just 6 months, the rest of the world is now asking itself, what does the U.S. stand for, and why should we still follow their lead?